Welcome to Sewing Anastasia, and today we are going to turn shorts into a skirt. So I was out thrifting and I fell in love with this fabric, and then I picked it up and realized it's not a skirt, it's shorts, but we can totally turn it into a skirt that's cute. I mean, I can't even imagine styling these. I don't know, bagpipes, golfing, who was wearing these? How are they styling? Leave it down below in the comments. I want to know. This process is easier than you think, and you can turn any pair of big shorts into a skirt. So next time you're thrifting, keep an eye out in the shorts aisle. And even if you're not turning shorts into a skirt, right now you're gonna learn some awesome upcycling and tailoring techniques throughout this video. So make sure you stay tuned to the end to see how these shorts turn into a skirt. And just real quick, if you're enjoying Sewing Anastasia, make sure you like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel a lot. And if you'd like to learn more about sewing, make sure you check out my online sewing academy and my sewing club. Links down below in the description. All right, let's turn these shorts into a skirt. The first thing you need to do is grab your seam ripper because we need to open up that inseam. So by the inseam, I mean the seam here that goes on the inside of your leg. So we're gonna open this up. This is what makes the shorts have legs. So we're gonna start right here at the bottom of the hem and then work all the way through and open up that entire seam. So I'm gonna go to the inside and we're gonna need to undo some of the hem first. I have a blind hem here, so I'm just gonna pick some of that open. So whatever hem you have on your shorts, just open that up a few inches so that way you can get access to the inseam there. So I have my hem here opened up and we're going to start from the top. So just start at the very edge here and then take your seam ripper and work through all of these stitches. And you can usually get all of the stitches at one time. So I've got, my serge there and my straight stitch, and we're just gonna pop them open. So we're just gonna work through this seam here. If you've got a real sturdy fabric like denim, there's a good chance you can just run that seam ripper right down that seam. Since I have a delicate wool, I wanna be really careful that I don't catch the weave with my seam ripper. So this is gonna take me a little while to do, so I'll see you guys when I got this seam open. Now I have the inseam completely open, so the legs are no longer being formed because we've opened up the inseam. So we can completely lift the front of the shorts up and you can see it's already looking like a skirt. Next, we're gonna turn the shorts inside out because we need to do some sewing. My shorts are inside out, and as you can see, I have a lining on one side and my self fabric on the other. So if your pants also have a lining, you're going to be doing the exact same thing to your lining as you're doing to yourself. But for demo, I'm just going to be doing everything on the self here. So I have my shorts laid flat, right sides together. This side here is the front, so I've got both layers here, and then this side here is the back. And you can see the curve that's in the shorts here for our seat. And what we need to do is straighten this out so that way we don't have this curve for the seat anymore. And we need to get rid of those because, well, that's just not how a skirt is shaped. And what we really need to do is make sure we are blending down from a straight point in these shorts. Now you can end up with all these really weird bumps and bubbles around the midsection area, and it does not look good. So I'm gonna help you avoid that. It's probably one of the trickiest part of turning shorts into a skirt is making sure they look smooth. So let me show you exactly how to do that. Grab a ruler and some chalk. The key to making this blend out really nice is starting up as high as you can. And since I have a zipper here at center front, I'm gonna be able to start right below the zipper. And so you want to start coming out at this point here, straight down. We're gonna end up cutting off all of this fabric here. And I'm picking this point because this is where the curve starts to happen. So to not have any of those bubbles or bumps on the front, you need to start right above where that curve starts to happen. Because if you started here, you're going to have this bubble area here because there's a curve here. So we want to keep this as straight as we can from the hip down. So I'm going to be using my ruler and chalk, and I'm going to start right here. And I'm going to draw all the way down the shorts. So try and keep this as straight as you can. Always great to start with the basting stitch as well, so that way you can try it on. But you can see we are going to end up coming straight down from the front and getting rid of all of this extra fabric that creates the shape of the shorts. Now we're gonna work on the back of the shorts. So the back curve is always a much stronger curve than the front of the shorts. So we're going to end up starting much higher. So I can see it's straight, 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 and then it starts to angle. So I actually want to start right in the middle here of this black line, and we're going to come all the way down to the bottom of the hem. So I'm going to chalk in my line. There we go. And so now we're going to end up sewing from here all the way down, removing all of this fabric. Next, we want to cut off our extra fabric, but before you do that, highly suggest pinning up that chalk line or basting it and trying it on real quick and make sure you have roughly the right fit, even though you have all that extra fabric in there right now, because once we cut it off, it's gone. It's gone forever. So I'm gonna make sure this fits real quick, and then I'm gonna draw in some seam allowance. So I tried it on and it's fitting good. So now what we need to do is add our seam allowance. So we're gonna draw to the outside of the line. I'm going to be adding a 1/2 inch seam. You can choose to add whatever you like, 1/4, 3/8, 5/8, etc. Whatever you're comfortable with sewing. This is to make sure we have enough fabric to work with while we're sewing, so we have a nice strong seam. So now we can cut off everything outside of that seam allowance. Now it's time to cut off the extra fabric. So we're cutting right on the outside of our seam allowance line. Just like that. Look at that. It's so looking like a skirt now. So I've drawn the seam allowance on this side, and it's time to cut off the extra. We cut off these giant pieces of fabric so that way we can get a skirt. These shorts are really looking like a skirt now. Look at this. So we have one more step before we start sewing, and we need to open up a little bit of the hem where we're going to be sewing, because that hem we opened up earlier, well, we cut it off. It's no longer there. So let's open this up a little bit and then we can sew. So technically you could just start sewing this up, but your hem's not gonna look very nice. So what we're going to do to make it look nice and professional is we're going to open up about 1 inch of the hem on all 4 pieces. That way we can sew all the way down through the bottom of the fabric, and then we re-hem it a little bit. So what you want to do is be able to open up the hem when we sew up the side. This is going to give you a nice professional result. So now that I have these open, you can see how they're going to line up at the bottom, and we'll be able to sew up this seam. And then what happens after we sew is this folds back up and we end up with a really nice clean hem. Now it's time to start sewing, so I'm going to pin up my center front and my center back seam. I have my sides all pinned up and my plaid matched perfectly. That way when we sew it, we're gonna have a beautiful seam. Now let's head over to the sewing machine and sew both of these sides up with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm gonna start at the hem and work my way up. I'm sewing a 1/2 inch in and just really going slow to follow my plaid. When I get to the top, we're going to blend into the existing seam and then backstitch. Now I'm going to do the same thing at the other side, starting at the hem and working my way all the way up to the top, right under that fly zipper. Back stitching in the seam and cut. So let's take a look at what we just sewed up. So you can see we started in the existing seam and we blended out right down center front. Now our fabric is going to fray and fall apart, so next we need to finish the edge. So mine was originally serged together, so I'm just going to serge the seam back together. But if you don't have a serger, you can zigzag it, overcast it, bias bind it, use your pinking shears. Just pick a way to finish the edge. And the seam for the back of the pants is also looking nice and smooth, and I'm going to do the same thing, just serge my seam together. So now I'm going to serge the seam together. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Now the seam is nice and finished, but we still have to hem it. But this process is really going to depend on what was there originally. So I had a blind hem originally, so I'm going to add back my blind hem. Maybe you had a rolled hem, maybe you had a single folded hem, maybe you had bias tape on it. However you had your original hem is what you want to put back onto your new skirt. So you can see my seam here is finished nicely, but my hem is open. So I'm going to put back the blind hem on both sides, the center front and the center back. So I have my blind hem foot on and my blind hem stitch selected. And if you need some pointers for creating a blind hem, make sure you check out my video on that. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. We did it! We finished the skirt. Let's check it out and go over everything you learned. As you can see, it looks just like a skirt, just how we wanted it to. So we have a seam now going straight down center front, so no more curve there. Remember that big old curve we had? We chopped it off. And then if we flip it over to the back, you can see we also have a back seam which is nice and smooth and flat, no weird bumps or puckers. So this is your goal when you're doing this. So when you're cutting off these curved shapes that are in the seam down here, that under seam, you want to make sure that it blends really nice into the existing seam. So that way everything is nice and smooth. And here's our new skirt. Remember those shorts before? Hideous, not my style at least, but now we have a really cute skirt. The skirt looks great in the front and the back too. And that whole process wasn't even that hard. So even if you're a beginner, you can totally handle this. So next time you're thrifting or shopping and you see a pair of shorts and you love the fabric, well, now you can turn it into a skirt. Thanks so much for watching Sew Anastasia today. If you have any questions about turning shorts into a skirt, leave it down below in the comments and I'll get back with you as soon as I can. And if you're enjoying Sew Anastasia, make sure you like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when the new videos come out. And if you are already a subscriber, well, thank you so much for watching today. And if you'd like to learn more about sewing, make sure you check out my online sewing academy and my sewing club. It's a great place to learn more about sewing. There's a link down below in the description. And make sure you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all the socials. That way we can stay connected and creative together. Thank you so much for watching and happy upcycling. Bye!